Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to MST.TV. This is Nishi here bringing you all another Market Watch episode. So today we are going to go over a bunch of really random price spikes that we've seen recently. I feel like everyone was super excited about the ban list, ready to freak out about when Maxi was finally going to be unbanned or something crazy like that. But instead, we got such an underwhelming list. People are really just looking for other interesting things to pick up and spend their money on. And while a lot of these buyouts and price spikes were certainly interesting, at the very least, there is some rationale behind each of these price jumps, which we will, as always, break down for you guys in today's video. Let's get started. Okay, so first up we have Lady Debug. Now this card is a really good card for any cyberspace deck, as it's essentially a Stratos for level 4 or lower cyber monsters, which is really cool. Most notably, it's a key card in Salamangrates because they can use it to search Gazelle, and Salamangrates continue to be one of the more solid meta decks of the format. However, we did see a couple of different Cybers cards reprinted in Toon Chaos, cards like Microcoder, which were only available in the Nintendo Switch game, and this overall makes the pure Cybers deck a little bit more affordable for casual players. As a result, Lady Debug has hit the $10 mark as one of the better starters in the strategy, though this is kind of crazy, right? Because it is just a card from a structure deck, and typically the structure deck is what sells for like $10, though that deck did come out almost 2 years ago now. Now this is definitely a card that I would be trying to move sooner rather than later, because I do think it's very likely to be reprinted in something like either the upcoming Battles of Legends set or an OTS tournament pack as a common. Next up, we have Phantom Knight's Fogblade. Specifically, we are going to be taking a look at the secret rare version. In Phantom Rage, which is the main core set that we'll be getting after Rise of the Duelist, we've confirmed that we're going to be getting some new Phantom Knight support, which seems okay. I don't think it's necessarily going to make Phantom Knights top tier or broken or anything like that. But we have to keep in mind we did get a poll in the OCG that suggests the possibility of Burning Abyss Phantom Knight support sometime in the near future, and I think that a lot of people are excited about the possibilities, with Burning Abyss being a very popular deck with a lot of the player base. Now there are multiple printings of Fogblade available, including a common print that's still really affordable, like under $1, but we should be keeping an eye on the prices of the secret rares specifically, as the highest rarity version of the card that is still reasonably cheap. Fogblade is a key card in the deck and is likely to continue to be a key card in the deck regardless of what the new support is, because it provides both an interruption during your opponent's turn as well as the ability to summon back a Phantom Knight monster from your graveyard. They're currently only about $6 each for the secret rares, which isn't too bad. If you can pick them up for around $5 a piece, it's a fine card to hold on to until we figure out exactly what the other new support is going to be. If you are able to also grab the ultras or commons for reasonably cheap, I think those make okay penny stocks to hold on to until we see what else the archetype is getting. Next, we are on to Ignite Crusader, a super rare from way back in Clash of Rebellion. So if you didn't know, Flame Noble Knights are actually doing really well in the OCG, able to set up pretty decent boards and rip cards from your opponent's hand with Smoke Grenade of the Thief. Now they are primarily a synchro based strategy, but they do make use of various link monsters like Isolde as well. However, the deck can actually use a somewhat forgotten mechanic in today's meta, Pendulum Summoning. The Ignites are all Fire Warrior monsters, just like the Flame Noble Knights, so there is a bit of synergy there. This could also potentially allow you to summon Ignites from your extra deck, or whatever cards you've bricked with in your hand, and get multiple monsters onto the field in order to combo off. I believe that in his combo video, Pack actually did conduct a Pendulum Summon, which was really interesting to see because it kind of flowed really naturally with the rest of the combo. Now Crusader was a super rare in its original set, but it wasn't included as a Megatin reprint, so there is only one version available. I suppose this isn't a horrible price to pay, though personally I would try not to, because I don't know if Ignites are going to be the standard way that Flame Noble Knights are played here in the TCG, though probably not. If that does become the standard build, then yeah, I could see Crusader getting more expensive as time goes on, but the fact that it might not really see play here, combined with the fact that a single upcoming reprint would absolutely destroy this card's value, I think that this is a card that I would try to get rid of now. Okay, so this card apparently I completely missed the buyout for, but supposedly Dark Teller Knight Batlamias was like a $40 card for maybe half a day or so. Apparently someone decided that this card from Invasion Vengeance, which has also never been reprinted before, would make a good buyout target, because on the off chance that we do get Satellar Knight support, this card would immediately become a lot more viable. I think that people might be thinking that Satellar Knight support will come eventually, because they are another deck that was featured on the poll of different decks that players wanted to receive support for over in the OCG, so it might actually be worth getting ahead of the curve and picking up a copy or two now while they are still relatively affordable. Fortunately, the card is no longer at $30 to $40 lowest on TCG Player, but rather it's down at a much more affordable price point between $2 to $3. At that price, it's probably a pretty safe hold, but if you were able to move your copy for anything more than like $10 a piece, congratulations. Another card from a deck that could potentially get new support, we have Inzektor Hornet. So I think that MCole40 actually talked about Inzektors in a video he did where he discussed different themes getting new support cards, which may be what put this card on a lot of people's radar. Inzektor Hornet was a very important card in Inzektors back in the day, being the card that enabled you to pop your opponent's entire field so easily. This card was actually limited at one point, I believe, which means that it would instantly be really highly sought after if Inzektors did get any new support, regardless of if that support is really broken or synergizes with Hornet or not. On top of this, Hornet has ever only had one printing, which was from a core set as a super rare before we got a holo in every pack, so it was actually somewhat difficult to find. I do actually agree that we will get Inzektor support at some point within the next year or so, and when we do, Hornet will be a very good card to have and you should hold on to them, though personally if you're looking at picking them up, I would only be paying around $5 a copy at the moment. For anything more than that, I don't think they're worth going out of your way to pick them up, but they do absolutely have the potential to jump to $15 or $20 a piece if the support announced is really that good. So this is a price jump we probably should have seen coming a lot sooner, but Generator Boss Stage is now all the way up at $19 a piece after seeing a buyout just yesterday. I remember this card being down at around $5 actually, but yeah, now this card is like quadruple that price. Obviously this is because of the new Generator support that came out in Eternity Code, which helps to add a lot of consistency to the strategy. I think people are finally starting to treat the deck like more of a solid tier 2 threat rather than just another random rogue strategy. I don't think that the deck is going to be top tier, but its ability to make true King of all calamities, as well as easily throw out big bodies onto the field, make it a very scary deck to be playing against if you aren't prepared. Now, as a short print from a set that is under a year old, I think we're unlikely to see Boss Stage reprinted for maybe another 6 months to a year. Actually, maybe a little bit sooner if we see a really huge demand for the card or the archetype, though probably not until next year's Megatons or next year's Battles of Legend type set. I think that $20 is actually a pretty reasonable price for this card, given its short printed status and the fringe role that it will play within the meta, so I would expect its price to remain very steady at around the $20 mark moving forward. Okay, so now I want to bring a bit of attention to Nightmare Unicorn. So I think that for a while, people were really big on Nightmare Unicorn because it's so versatile and generic. It provides non-destruction removal for problem cards on the field, which is great, and you can go into it with something like Nightmare Phoenix as a material, or you can just use 3 different monsters. It does require a discard, but usually that's not a problem if it means you're breaking through your opponent's board, or even disrupting them during your opponent's turn if you make this card with IP Masquerena. Also notable is that you can use this card to make the new Access Code Talker, since it can be made with just 2 materials, and then if you banish the Unicorn, you actually get to boost Access Code Talker up to 5,300 attack points, which is kind of insane. Nightmare Unicorn has been creeping up in price recently, and we're now looking at $17 for the secret rare, but even the ultra rares cost about $8 a piece. The secrets were bound to retain value, but with the ultras, because the 2019 Megatins were such a big set, it's not like you were pulling Unicorn in every single tin, right? When you're pulling from a bigger set, you're pulling less of any one specific card if you're opening the same amount of product. This one is kind of up to you guys and whether or not you want to pick it up, and I'm kind of on the fence about it myself. Because it is kind of a staple, I think we should be seeing it reprinted in an upcoming reprint set, though if it doesn't, I think that it will continue to increase in price steadily over time for both versions. Next, we have Dragunity Arma Mistletoe. So we did get some new Dragunity support announced for a new structure deck that's coming out in the OCG. In it, we got some interesting cards, and one very notable card is Dragunity Glow, which searches out a level 5 or higher Dragunity monster from your deck. Now the deck does have a new level 10 Dragunity main deck boss monster, which is interesting, but the other card you can search with it is Arma Mistletoe, which functions better as an extender for building boards since it can bring itself out onto the field and lets you equip a Dragunity monster from your graveyard to this card, which can then be special summoned. I did see a couple of builds online looking at the new support, and it seems really interesting. They were building some crazy boards, so this card might be something to keep an eye on if we get more good support revealed. However, this should be strictly for the purposes of selling into the hype, since I believe that even if the cards are good, there's a very high chance that we would see Arma Mistletoe reprinted in the Dragunity deck itself as a somewhat key card in the strategy. The card is currently about $4 or so a piece for a near mint copy, though I personally wouldn't be picking them up for more than $1 or $2, and I would sell them at around $5 a piece as we get closer to when the support comes out, because a reprint would certainly bring the price back down to around $1. Another card I want to discuss here is Stardust Charge Warrior. So with Needle Fiber running around, it was kind of inevitable that we would see some interesting synchro monsters be introduced into meta decks. Stardust Charge Warrior is certainly a potentially useful card as it can draw you a card on summon, and it can actually win you the game in really specific situations since it can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls once each. I think the draw effect is really what's more useful though, probably what you're going to be playing it for. This card is actually used in Flame Noble Knight decks in the OCG, which could certainly be a contributing factor to its steady price rise here in the TCG. This card was only a couple of dollars for the longest time, but has trended upwards slowly over the last couple of months. Now another big thing is that this card has only ever been printed once, and it's as a gold rare, so it's not exactly the most desirable rarity. If it doesn't get a reprint, then yeah, this card will continue to increase in price because it's the only available version. But if it does, then gold rares will immediately tank. I think that with this card, I would pick up your 1 or 2 copies for now, just in case you decide that you do want to play it, but then play it by ear and see if you can slowly offload them just in case a reprint does come up. The last card I want to talk about today is Dark Ruler No More, and actually this is something that really caught me off guard. Dark Ruler No More is a $13 card. I remember before, right, Nibiru was like $10 and that was already crazy, and then Dark Ruler No More was only a few bucks, maybe $5 at most. We know that Dark Ruler No More has become increasingly viable against meta decks like Adamanticators, but I didn't know that it was almost matching Nibiru in terms of price. It does make sense. I do think that this card is much better than Nibiru in terms of meta usage at the moment, because given the current meta, it's more effective at breaking through your opponent's boards. You can't really negate it with like Kawaki Maru Guardian, right? Hopefully you guys picked up your playsets when they were much cheaper than this, because I'd hate to have to pick them up for this price. With all of these different cards, the 2019 Megatins are looking like an absolutely amazing investment if you're still holding onto cards like this, which is really cool. It actually makes me want to go and jump on pre-ordering more of the 2020 Megatins to see if they hold just as much value. Okay, I lied. There's one more card that I do need to briefly talk about. I just found out about it while I was in the middle of recording, so I'm adding this here kind of at the end. And this card is Code Radiator. So this card is very similar to when we were talking about Lady Debug, because it was also bought out largely because of the cyber support that is being reprinted in Toon Chaos. I remember actually thinking about picking up this card when the reprints were announced because they were only $5 or $6 a piece, but I decided against it in the end because I think it's a card that you really only need to play 1, maybe 2 copies of in a pure Cybers deck, and it didn't really seem worth it. Nevertheless, people thought that it might be a good buyout target because it was short printed in Fist of the Gadgets. Obviously, short prints make really good buyout targets because they're slower to replenish on the market, but also Fist of the Gadgets wasn't really opened all that much and was pretty underwhelming as a set. Currently, the cheapest available copy of Code Radiator on TCG Player is $16 at the moment, and there are very limited quantities available, but I'm not expecting this price to stick unless they release some amazing new Cybers cards that I'm just not aware of. I'm definitely expecting this card to quickly fall back to around $10 each within the next week or so. Alright guys, that is it for today's episode. I know a lot of it seemed really random, but I guess a lot of people are really bored without events or a new ban list, so there really is just a lot of speculation going on right now amongst the player base. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's episode, please be sure to slam that thumbs up button for me. It does help out a ton. Also, make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know what else is going on with the Yu-Gi-Oh market that I maybe didn't talk about or I missed, so that I can potentially cover it in a future video to keep you guys all informed. And of course, if you guys haven't already, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button to get all of the latest videos from both Tombox and myself. And until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST MST.TV.